Hello, welcome, intros, conclusions, and structure. Okay, we talked about structure, and I did a whole video about outlining and structure and how we might do that. But now I want you to start thinking about how that structure works to get your information to your audience. So I think most people know we need an intro, okay? But what are the pieces to that info? My partner's here. He's going to help me a little bit. So if you want to call out pieces to an intro, you're welcome to do that. So what is usually the first thing we think of when we think of an intro? Like what kicks everything off?
An attention getter.
An attention getter. Isn't this amazing? Attention getter can be so many things, right? It can be a joke. It can be a story. It can be, anything that you're going to love this gets people's attention. What? Okay, couple notes on this. The first thing is most people are not super creative when they do that, and it makes me sad. I once had a student who her topic was on cheerleading, and she just couldn't think of an attention getter, couldn't think of one. She was really stressed out. And finally, and she was doing all of this like history of cheerleading. It was an info. And I said, because did you know that cheerleading was invented for and by men, and they did all these like weird boom, ba, sis, ba. And so I said, wouldn't it be cool if you opened with one of those weird ass old cheers? And I said, you don't have pom-poms, do you? And she looked at me so offended. She was like, of course I do. And I was like, what if you brought your pom-poms and did the cheer? And she literally, y'all, she looked at me and said, can I do that? And I was like, of course you can do that, right? Like, one of my favorite attention getters from last semester was the guy that talked about environmental stuff, and he wore a tiger shirt, and he referenced in class about how I say, there is no tiger, and he's like, the reason there's no, there, and he had a shirt on over it, and he ripped open his shirt to reveal his tiger shirt. And then the next speech, he had the tiger shirt on, and underneath was a gorilla shirt. He's like, today we're talking about gorillas, and then he talked about forest deforestation. Oh my God, it was amazing. So something that's gonna get us thinking, something. Now, it doesn't always have to be like entertaining or funny. It can be very serious. It can be very poignant, but something that's gonna get us into the topic. Now, I had one class, they had terrible attention getters, blah, and so I called them out and I said, y'all, your attention getters are terrible. You got to be more creative. Well, the next speech, they had amazing attention getters, and none of them fit their speeches. They did all these like funny skits and jokes, and then they would like just go into the topic and there wasn't a link. So in an ideal world, you want to start with an attention getter, then you want to lead us into the topic, and here's where I talk about link. So usually I draw on the board, your attention getter, then you need kind of a link, and you're leading us to the point of the topic, which is our purpose. Then what's another, if you were going to sum up our purpose, we call it the
Thesis
statement. I did not prepare him for this. He's just winging it. Thesis statement, right? So you're going to lead us to the thesis statement. Now, ideally, I want you to have a thesis and a preview. Those are two different things. A thesis statement is the purpose boiled down. Some of you are going, I'm not good at those. Well, if you're under the age of 25 and you don't write them every day, you shouldn't be that good at those. You'll get better and better, okay? So no stress. Think about if you had this, like if your mom asked you, what's your speech on? You gave her the best sentence you possibly could. That's going to be your purpose sentence, right? A lot of times people think they're writing a purpose statement, but they're really writing a descriptive statement, and they need one more statement. Like they wrote the sentence before it. Now they need one more statement to sum everything up. A preview statement then tells us where we're going. Okay, so the thing about organization is it can verbally help your audience understand what's going on. And if you can't label your points, you're probably not organized enough, okay? Like you need to go back through and do a little more structure and sorting and organizing, because you should be able to like give an idea of where you're going. So here, we're gonna have Matthew help. Let's see if we can do it like this. Okay, so if I'm gonna give my speech, okay, and this is my audience, okay? A lot of times a speech happens like this. Can I hold your hand? Consent is very important. Okay, so a lot of times people start, and first of all, they're nervous.
Okay.
And so they'll be like, okay, attention getter, one, and then okay, point one, okay, point two, here we go, point three, okay, and they won't tell you where they're going or what they're doing. So
That made me nervous.
yeah, exactly, which makes the audience nervous. Have you ever been in the car and like a new driver's driving and like they know where they're going and they know how fast they're going, but you don't. So you're like gripping the side. Both my sister and I comment like, yeah, your brakes are different than mine. I think you're gonna run into that car. But they know they're not. As a speaker, you're in control, but you want to make your audience feel in control. Not only will pace help, which we'll talk about later this week, but having organization helps. Otherwise, you're like, today we're going to talk about giraffes.
Okay, we're talking about giraffes.
Here we go. Giraffes. I mean, we could be going anywhere. We could be going to habitat. We could be going to history. We could be going to regions of giraffes. We could be going to mating habits. You don't know where you're going. No, this is like where you're driving through the Midwest and then like you fell asleep and you wake up and you're in Kansas and you don't know where the next bathroom stop is, where you are.
I don't want to be in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I need to help my audience, and I can do that using verbal cues, okay? So this is called signposting. The very first time you signpost is usually called a preview because you're previewing, okay? So you're going to say, today I'm going to talk to you about giraffes.
Okay.
And first, I'm going to tell you about the eating habits of giraffes.
Oh, eating habits.
Yeah,
Okay.
see? And then I'm going to talk to you about the economic implications of giraffes.
Okay.
And then I'm going to talk about their endangerment.
Okay.
Pollution, that kind of thing, okay?
Yeah.
And so then I kind of check in like, okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
And then we move to, wrong way, I pointed here first.
No, you pointed.
I pointed here? Okay, yeah, well, it's backwards on the,
See,
okay.
you previewed, so
I
I knew where you were
previewed,
going.
yeah, okay, and then I'm leading him, right? So it's not like, okay, we're gonna go to eating habits, right? Like, take a break. You say the preview, and then we're gonna take a break. Okay, do you know who is the absolute best at, do you know this? Who's the absolute best at previewing, signposting, verbal?
I do.
Do you know it?
Yeah, it's Dora the
It's
Explorer.
Dora the Explorer. I'm not kidding, y'all. Dora the Explorer puts, sometimes people guess me that I'm the best, but I'm not as good as Dora.
No.
Okay, so have you ever seen Dora the Explorer? She starts and she'll be like, today we're going to the birthday party. Purpose statement. Period. That's the goal of today, right? Then she'll say, to get to the birthday party, first we have to cross the bridge. Then we have to go through the forest. Then we get to the barn where there's a birthday party. Okay, so then she's like, then you go to the bridge and she's like, we're at the bridge.
We're at the bridge.
Yeah. And then, so you always know where you are. Then she's like, now we're going to the forest. And then she takes you to the forest. And then she's like, we were at the bridge.
We're at the bridge.
Review, right? Now we're at the forest. Now we're going to the barn. And then sometimes what happens? Swiper comes and she gets kind of off path. So this is where you get off track and you start talking and you maybe get off your organization. So sometimes people freak out and they pretend they're like trains. And trains can either go forwards or backwards or they tip over. And then they get really flustered and they'll be like, the speaker will be like, can I start over? I messed this up. Sorry. No. You're not on a path. You're not on a train track. You're in a field. And the swiper comes and maybe you get off path.
I thought we were in the forest.
Oh yeah, we're in the forest.
Yeah.
So the swiper comes, you get off path, but then you get back on path and you're like, here we are again. Remember, we're going to the barn because the whole goal is the birthday cake. Yeah. So then you go to the barn, right? And always take your audience with you. And now you're here, right? So isn't that awesome? You want to do the Dora. You want to be able to like verbally lead us through. Thank you. Anything else to say?
No.
Okay. Because then once you get to the end, a conclusion is going to wrap all this up. Sometimes it'll tie directly back to your intro. Sometimes it will be short and sweet. Sometimes you'll really review Remember, it just depends on your topic and things like that, right? So, terrible noise. Yeah. So the whole goal is to use organization to get your information to our ears, because remember, we can't go back and reread. So not only have you spent time making choices about organization, but now you also are putting it in verbally in a way that we understand and can follow it. If you're over time, you need better organization. You probably need to cut some stuff too, but you probably need better organization and make more choices about your material. If you can't preview your points, you probably don't have strong enough points. You probably need better organization, right? If your intro's a mess and you're just rambling, you need those pieces of that intro that we talked through. I usually like that link to be some kind of like source or something that takes me from the attention getter and gets me into the main topic purpose. So I like a few sentences in between there. And then some people just will start with their thesis, and I'm always like, wait, I don't even know what we're talking about. You just hit me with the purpose. I've already forgot it, right? So lead me to that purpose and then preview for me. And then you might even say another sentence or two to just kind of get me into it. Then give me a nice pause before you go into the body of the speech, right? You are the tour guide here, and your cues, right, are going to help us listen and learn your information. My favorite, I think of him as a second mother. He's my speech coach and my advanced public speaking teacher. His name's Richard. I'll talk about him quite a bit. He used to say audiences are stupid. They don't mean to be. They just are stupid. They don't have they can't read your brain. They can't, they're lazy. They're not going to like work for what you're trying to say usually. So you need to like help them and give them pieces that lead them through the information. And you're the one doing all the work. And remember, all the work, right, is you crafting. Yes. And how do you know how to craft? Critical thinking for what's effective. Woo! Okay, so that's intros, conclusions, and structure throughout, signposting, main points, previews, reviews. Do the Dora. Woohoo!